Chapter 29 Diana's Wedding.
After all, the only red roses are the pink ones,
said Anne as she tied white ribbon around Diana's bouquet in the westward-looking gable at Orchard Slope.
They are the flowers of love and faith.
Diana was standing nervously in the middle of the room, arrayed in her bridal white, her black curls frosted over with the film of her wedding veil. Anne had draped the veil in accordance with the sentimental compact of years before.
It's all pretty much as I used to imagine it long ago when I wept over your inevitable marriage and our consequent parting.
She laughed.
You are the bride of my dreams, Diana, with the lovely misty veil, and I am your bridesmaid. But alas, I haven't the puff sleeves, though these short lace ones are even prettier. Neither's my heart wholly breaking, nor do I exactly hate Fred.
We are not really parting, Anne, protested Diana.
I'm not going far away. We'll love each other just as much as ever. We've always kept that oath of friendship we swore long ago, haven't we? Yes, we've kept it faithfully. We've had a beautiful friendship, Diana. We've never marred it by one quarrel or coolness or unkind word, and I hope it will always be so. But things can't be quite the same after this. You'll have other interests. I'll just be on the outside. But such is life, as Mrs. Rachel says. Mrs. Rachel has given you one of her beloved knitted quilts of the tobacco stripe pattern, and she says when I am married she'll give me one too.
The mean thing about you getting married is that I won't be able to be your bridesmaid, lamented Diana.
I'm to be Phil's bridesmaid next June when she marries Mr. Blake, and then I must stop, for you know the proverb, 3 times a bridesmaid, never a bride,
said Anne, peeping through the window over the pink and snow of the blossoming orchard beneath.
Here comes the minister, Diana.
Oh, Anne, gasped Diana, suddenly turning very pale and beginning to tremble. Oh, Anne, I'm so nervous. I can't go through with it, Anne. I know I'm going to faint.
If you do, I'll drag you down to the rainwater hogshed and drop you in,
said Anne, unsympathetically.
Cheer up, dearest. Getting married can't be so very terrible when so many people survive the ceremony. See how cool and composed I am, and take courage.
Wait till your turn comes, Miss Anne.
Oh, Anne, I hear father coming upstairs. Give me my bouquet. Is my veil right? Am I very pale? You look just lovely. Dee, darling, kiss me goodbye for the last time. Diana Barry will never kiss me again.
Diana right will, though. There, mother's calling. Come. Following the simple, old-fashioned way in vogue then, Anne went down to the parlor on Gilbert's arm. They met at the top of the stairs for the very first time since they had left Kingsport, for Gilbert had arrived only that day. Gilbert shook hands courteously. He was looking very well, though, as Anne instantly noted, rather thin. He was not pale. There was a flush on his cheek that had burned into it as Anne came along the hall towards him in her soft white dress with lilies of the valley in the shining masses of her hair. As they entered the crowded parlor together, a little murmur of admiration ran around the room. What a fine-looking pair they are, whispered the impressible Mrs. Rachel to Marilla. Fred ambled in alone with a very red face, and then Diana swept in on her father's arm. She did not faint, and nothing untoward occurred to interrupt the ceremony. Feasting and merrymaking followed. Then, as the evening waned, Fred and Diana drove away through the moonlight to their new home, and Gilbert walked with Anne to Green Gables. Something of the old comradeship had returned during the informal mirth of the evening. Oh, it was nice to be walking over that well-known road of Gilbert again. The night was so very still that one should have been able to hear the whisper of roses in blossom, the laughter of daisies, the piping of grasses, Many sweet sounds all tangled up together. The beauty of moonlight on familiar fields irradiated the world. "Can we take a ramble up Lover's Lane before you go in?" asked Gilbert as they crossed the bridge over the lake of shining waters in which the moon lay like a great drowned blossom of gold. Anna assented readily. Lover's Lane was a very veritable path in a fairyland that night, a shimmering, mysterious place full of wizardry in the white woven enchantment of moonlight. There had been a time when such a walk with Gilbert through Lover's Lane would have been too far. There had been a time when such a walk with Gilbert through Lover's Lane would have been far too dangerous. But Roy and Christine had made it very safe now. Anne found herself thinking a good deal about Christine as she chatted lightly to Gilbert. She had met her several times before leaving Kingsport, and had been charmingly sweet to her. Christine had also been charmingly sweet. Indeed, they were a most cordial pair, but for all that, their acquaintance had not ripened into friendship. Evidently, Christine was not a kindred spirit. "Are you going to be in Avonlea all summer?" asked Gilbert.
No, I'm going down east the Valley Road next week. Esther Haythorne wants me to teach for her through July and August. They have a summer term in that school, and Esther isn't feeling well, so I'm going to substitute for her. In one way, I don't mind. You know, I'm beginning to feel a little bit like a stranger in Avonlea now. It makes me sorry, but it's true. It's quite appalling to see the number of children who have shot up into big boys and girls, really young men and women, these past 2 years. Half of my pupils are grown up. It makes me feel awfully old to see them in the places you and I and our mates used to fill.
Anne laughed and sighed. She felt very old and mature and wise, which showed how young she was. She told herself that she longed greatly to go back to those dear, merry days when life was seen through a rosy mist of hope and illusion, and possessed an indefinable something that had passed away forever. Where was it now, the glory and the dream? "So wags the world away," quoted Gilbert practically and a trifle absently, and wondered if he were thinking of Christine. Oh, Avonlea was going to be so lonely now, with Diana gone. Chapter 30. Mrs. Skinner's Romance. Anne stepped off the train at Valley Road Station and looked about to see if anyone had come to meet her. She was to board with a certain Miss Janet Sweet, but she saw no one who answered in the least to her preconception of that lady as formed from Esther's letter. The only person in sight was an elderly woman sitting in a wagon with mail bags piled around her. 200 would have been a charitable guess at her weight. Her face was as round and red as a harvest moon and almost as featureless. She wore a tight black cashmere dress, made in the fashion of 10 years ago, a little dusty black straw hat trimmed with bows of yellow ribbon, and faded black lace mitts. "Hey, you," she called, waving her whip at Anne. "Are you the new Valley Road schoolma'am?"
Yes?
"Well, I thought so. Valley Road is noted for its good-looking schoolma'ams, just as Millersville is noted for its homely ones. Janet Sweet asked me this morning if I could bring you out. I said, sartin I can, if she don't mind being scrunched up some. The rig of mine's kinder small for the mail-bags, and I am some heftier than Thomas. Just wait, miss, till I shift these bags a bit, and I'll tuck you in somehow. It's only 2 miles to Janet's. Her next-door neighbor's hired boy is coming for your trunk tonight. My name's Skinner. Amelia Skinner." Anne was eventually tucked in, exchanging amused smiles with herself during the process. "Jog along, Black Mare," commanded Mrs. Skinner, gathering up the reins in her pudgy hands. "This is my first trip on the mail route. Thomas wanted to hoe his turnips today, so he asked me to come. So I just sat down and took a standing-up snack and I started. I sorta like it. Oh, of course it's our Ted juice. Part of the time I sits and thinks and the rest I just sits. Jog along, black man. I want to get home early. Thomas is terrible lonesome when I'm away. You see, we haven't been married very long."
"Oh?" said Anne politely.
"Just a month. Thomas courted me for quite a spell, though. It was real romantic." Anne tried to picture Mrs. Skinner on speaking terms of romance and failed.
"Oh,"
she said again. "Yes, you see, there was another man after me. Jog along, black man. I had been a widow so long folks had given up expecting me to marry again. But when my daughter, she's a schoolma'am like you, went out west to teach, I felt real lonesome and wasn't nowise not against the idea. By and by, Thomas began to come up, and so did other fella, William Obadiah Seaman, his name was. For a long time I couldn't make up my mind which of them to take, and kept coming, and I kept worrying. You see, W.O. was rich. He had a fine place and carried considerable style. He was by far the best match. Jog along, black man."
"Why didn't you marry him?"
asked Anne. "Well, you see, he didn't love me," answered Mrs. Skinner solemnly. Anne opened her eyes widely and looked at Mrs. Skinner, but there was not a quint of humor on that lady's face. Evidently Mrs. Skinner saw nothing amusing in her own case. His sister kept house for him. Then she got married, and he just wanted someone to look after his house. It was worth looking after too, mind you, that. It's a handsome house. Jog along, black man. As for Thomas, he was poor, and if his house didn't leak in dry weather was about all that could be said for it, though it looks kind of picturesque. But you see, I loved Thomas, and I didn't care one red cent for W.O., so I argued it out with myself. "Sarah Crow," say I. My first was a crow. "You can marry a rich man if you like, but you won't be happy. Folks can't get along together in this world without a little bit of love. You just better tie up to Thomas, for he loves you and you love him, and nothing else ain't going to do you. Jog along, black man." So I told Thomas I'd take him. All the time I was getting ready, I never dared drive past W.O.'s place for the fear of sight of that fine house of his would put me in the swivers again. But now I never think of it at all, and I'm just comfortable and happy with Thomas. Jog along, black man.
"How did William Obadiah take it?"
queried Anne. "Oh, he rumpused a bit, but he's going to see a skinny old maid in Millersville now, and I guess she'll take him fast enough. She'll make him a better wife than his first did. W.O. never wanted to marry her. He just asked her to marry him because his father wanted him to. They were dreaming but that she'd say no. But mind you, she said yes. It was a predicament for you. Jog along, black man. She was a great housekeeper, but most awful mean. She wore the same bonnet for 18 years. Then she got a new one, and W.O. met her on the road and didn't know her. Jog along, black man. I'd feel that I'd a narrow escape. Might have married him and been most awful miserable, like my poor cousin Jane Ann. Jane Ann married a rich man she didn't care anything about, and she hasn't the life of a dog. She come to see me last week and says she, "Sarah Skinner, I envy you. I'd rather live in a little hut on the side of the road with man I was fond of than my big house of the one I've got. Jane Ann's man ain't such a bad sort, nutter, though he's so contrary that he wears his fur coat when the thermometer's at 90. The only way to get him to do anything is to coax him to do the opposite. But they ain't my love to smooth things down into a poor way of living. Jog along, black man. There's Janet's place in the hollow. Wayside, she calls it. Quite picturesque, ain't it? I guess you'll be glad to get out of this with all of them mailbags jamming round you."
"Yes, but I have enjoyed my drive with you very much,"
said Anne sincerely. "Get away now," said Mrs. Skinner, highly flattered. "Wait till I tell Thomas that. He always feels dreadful tickled when I get a compliment. Jog along, black man. Well, here we are. I hope you'll get on well in the school, miss. There's a short-cut to it through the marsh back of Janet's. If you take that way, be awful careful. If you once got stuck in that black mud, you'd be sucked right down and never seen or heard tell of again till the day of judgment, like Adam Palmer's cow. Jog along, black man."